All right, welcome back to the deep dive. You know how this works, right? You bring us something interesting that you're exploring, and we dive in together, trying to pull out all the interesting bits, the useful parts.
Yeah, think of us like those friends who can make even the densest stuff you're reading suddenly fun and actually make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Makes you feel a little smarter, a little more in the know, without
Yeah,
having to wade through it all yourself.
exactly. And speaking of feeling smarter, today's deep dive, it's taking us into some pretty fascinating territory. You sent over chapters 10, 11, and 12 from Shimashad Ru's book, Shimana Quantum Code, A Journey into Multidimensional Healing and Infinite Love. Quite a title, right?
It is, yeah. And it's a pretty deep dive, no pun intended. But that's what we do here. And I think what's really cool about these chapters, especially for our deep dive today, is how they connect planetary energies. Those like classic elements, fire, water, earth, and how those actually impact the health of our organs.
Yeah, and it's all viewed through the lens of Taoist practices, which is fascinating in itself. But then it layers on top of that the framework of the Shimana Quantum Code.
Right, exactly. Like a unique blend of ancient wisdom and this sort of modern energetic healing approach.
Right. And, it really gets you thinking differently about your body. It's not just this isolated thing. It's like a microcosm of the whole universe, reflecting all these bigger energies.
Which is a pretty mind-blowing concept when you really stop and think about it, It makes you wonder, like, oh, is that why I'm feeling this way? Is it Jupiter messing with my liver or something?
Exactly. It really opens up a whole new perspective on well-being.
Okay, well, let's start unpacking this, shall we?
Hmm.
Chapter 10 dives right into these Taoist planetary and organ connections. But before we get to Mars and Jupiter and all that, for those of us who might be, newbies to Taoist thought, what's this whole idea about seeing the body as like a miniature universe?
Okay, so the core Taoist principle here is that everything in the universe is interconnected and mirrored. So just like, the cosmos has its planets and stars and these basic elements, our bodies have corresponding organs and energies that kind of vibrate in sync with those larger forces.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's not just about the physical stuff, but also the energetic side of things.
Yeah, exactly. It's all connected. It's that whole as above, so below thing. What happens up there in the cosmos is reflected down here in our bodies and vice versa.
Okay, cool. So now let's get into the specifics. The book lays out these 5 planetary energies and how they relate to our organs and emotions. Let's start with Mars. What's the Taoist take on that fiery planet?
So Mars is all about fire, right? And in the body, its domain is the heart and small intestine. They're like the yin and yang partners in this fiery realm.
Makes sense. So what does that mean for us, like energetically and emotionally?
Okay, so spiritually, Mars energy connects to what's called Shen in Taoism. It's not just spirit in a general sense. It's more like our consciousness, our vital life force, the spark that makes us thus.
Oh, I see. So it's like the very essence of who we are.
Yeah, exactly. And then, on the emotional level, Mars resonates with joy. But here's the thing. Too much fire can be a problem. Think anxiety, restlessness, being overly excited all the time.
Right, like that kind of frenetic energy that makes you feel scattered.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the heart is trying to burn too brightly, and it throws everything off balance.
So how do we find that sweet spot, that balance?
Well, the book has some really interesting suggestions. It talks about things like meditating on a red golden light flowing into your heart center. It sounds a little out there, but it can be surprisingly calming.
I can see that. What else?
Crystals. Some people find that working with crystals like rose quartz or rhodonite, which resonate with that Mars energy, can be really helpful too.
What about those hand gestures, those mudras?
Oh yeah, fire mudras. They're specifically designed to help regulate that fiery energy and bring it back into balance. And of course, there's always good old-fashioned breathing techniques, heart coherence breathing specifically.
Okay, so those are all things we can do to work with that Mars energy in a healthy way. Now, what about Jupiter? How does that giant planet play into this whole body-universe connection?
Okay, so Jupiter is all about the wood element, and its domain is the liver and gallbladder. Again, they're the yin and yang pair in this system.
Interesting. So what does that mean in terms of our spiritual and emotional well-being?
Well, in Taoism, the liver is seen as this really important organ for the smooth flow of qi, which is that vital life force energy we were talking about earlier. And it also plays a big role in detoxification, both physically and emotionally.
I can see how that would connect to Jupiter, which is often associated with expansion and growth. So what happens when Jupiter's energy is out of whack?
Well, think about the qualities of wood. It can be strong and resilient, but it can also become rigid and inflexible. So when Jupiter's energy is imbalanced, we might feel angry, frustrated, stuck, indecisive.
Oh, okay. And what can we do to bring that energy back into balance?
Well, the book suggests visualizing a vibrant emerald green light flowing through the liver. It's thought to help clear out any stagnant energy and promote a sense of flow and renewal.
Interesting. And any crystals that can help with this?
Jade and malachite are both associated with the wood element and are often used to support liver health and emotional balance. And of course, there are specific Qigong exercises that focus on detoxifying the liver. They can be really powerful.
Cool. So we've covered Mars and Jupiter. What about Venus? What's its connection to our bodies and emotions?
Venus is linked to the metal element, and it governs the lungs and the large intestine.
Yeah.
Think about the qualities of metal. It's about structure, boundaries, letting go of what's no longer needed.
So the lungs and large intestine, they're all about taking in what we need and releasing what we don't.
Exactly. And on a deeper level, this energy connects to what's called Po, or the corporeal soul in Taoism. It's that part of us that's connected to our primal instincts, our deepest knowing.
Interesting. And what about the emotional side of things?
Well, Venus is associated with grief, with letting go, and also with courage. It's about having the strength to face those difficult emotions and release what's no longer serving us.
I can see how that ties into the whole breathing thing. Like when we're grieving, we often feel like we can't breathe.
Exactly. The breath is so central to processing those deep emotions. So when Venus energy is balanced, we feel clear-headed, emotionally open, and deeply connected to our breath.
And what happens when it's imbalanced?
We might experience persistent sadness, difficulty letting go of the past, or even physical breathing problems. It can manifest in all sorts of ways.
But what are some ways we can work with this energy to find that balance?
The book suggests visualizing pure white golden light being breathed into the lungs. It's a way to cleanse and strengthen that energy. And crystals like selenite or clear quartz are said to help purify the energetic field around the lungs.
What about practical physical things?
Deep diaphragmatic breathing, of course, and even singing. It can be incredibly beneficial for strengthening lung qi, that vital energy.
Cool. So we've got Mars, Jupiter, and Venus covered. What about Saturn? What's its role in this cosmic body map?
Saturn, that's all about the earth element, and
Right.
it governs the spleen and stomach. Think grounding, stability, nourishment.
Those are definitely Saturnian qualities. And what about the spiritual and emotional connections?
Well, the spleen is really important for digestion and for transforming the energy from food into usable energy for the body. And the stomach, of course, is where that initial breakdown happens. So Saturn is all about how we nourish ourselves, both physically and mentally.
Right. It's about taking in what we need to thrive and grow.
Exactly. And on a spiritual level, Saturn's energy connects to what's called yi in Taoism. It's about our thoughts, our intentions, our ability to manifest things in the physical world.
Okay, that makes sense. And what about the emotions associated with Saturn?
Saturn is often linked to worry, overthinking, that tendency to get stuck in our heads. But it's also about stability, responsibility, and the ability to nurture ourselves and others.
So it's about finding that balance between those heavier, earthier qualities and the more nurturing, supportive aspects.
Exactly. When Saturn's energy is balanced, we feel grounded, clear-headed, and well-nourished, both physically and mentally.
And when it's out of balance?
We might experience excessive worry, digestive issues, fatigue, and a general lack of grounding. It can feel like we're constantly spinning our wheels and not getting anywhere.
So what are some things we can do to work with Saturn's energy in a positive way?
Visualization is really helpful here. Imagine a warm golden yellow light bathing your spleen and stomach, strengthening that digestive fire and promoting a sense of grounding. Crystals like citrine and tiger's eye are also thought to support mental clarity and a healthy digestive system.
And any practical tips?
Oh, absolutely. Mindful eating is so important, really paying attention to what we're putting into our bodies. Choosing warm, easily digestible foods can also be really helpful. And grounding activities like spending time in nature can work wonders for balancing Saturn's energy.
Great advice. Okay, so we've covered Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. Last but not least, let's talk about Mercury and its connection to the water element.
Mercury, that quick-witted planet, is all about flow, adaptability, and communication. And in the body, its domain is the kidneys and bladder. They're the yin and yang duo responsible for filtering and eliminating waste products, both physical and energetic.
So it's about keeping things moving, maintaining that flow, just like water.
Precisely. And the kidneys are also seen as the storehouse of Jing in Taoism. It's that essential life force energy we're born with that determines our vitality and longevity. Think of it as our deep reserves of energy.
Interesting. And what about the emotional and spiritual aspects of Mercury's influence?
Well, Mercury is associated with fear, but it's also about trust, intuition, and deep inner wisdom. It's about having the courage to dive into those deeper waters of our being and access that wisdom.
Okay, I can see that. So when Mercury's energy is balanced, what might that look and feel like?
You'd likely feel strong, adaptable, deeply intuitive, and connected to your inner guidance. You'd trust your instincts and be able to navigate life's challenges with a sense of ease and grace.
And what about when it's imbalanced?
You might experience fear, insecurity, anxiety, kidney-related problems, and a lack of motivation or direction. It can feel like you're lost at sea without a compass to guide you.
So what are some things we can do to tap into that balanced Mercury energy?
Visualization is a powerful tool here, too. Imagine a deep blue-silver light filling your kidneys, cleansing and purifying that energy. Crystals like black tourmaline for protection and energy flow, or aquamarine for its connection to water and emotional balance can also be helpful.
And what about practical exercises?
Kidney breathing exercises are specifically designed to strengthen that energy, and mindful cold water immersion can be really beneficial too if it's appropriate for your health. And of course, ensuring you're getting enough deep, restful sleep is crucial for supporting kidney health and vitality.
Good advice. Now, the chapter also talks about the moon and its influence, which feels like a bit of a wild card here.
Right. The moon, it's not a planet technically, but its energy is super important in this whole system. It's considered to have a really powerful influence on yin energy within the body, especially on the kidneys.
Interesting. So how does that play out?
Think about the moon's cycles, right? Ebb and flow, waxing and waning. It affects the tides, and similarly, it affects our internal water balance, our hormonal cycles, and our emotional depth.
Makes sense. So what are some ways to work with the moon's energy in a positive way?
Meditating with moonstone, especially during a full moon, can be really powerful for harmonizing those energies. And just being aware of those natural emotional cycles, like the tides, can be helpful too. Not resisting them, but flowing with them.
That's a beautiful image, and I love the idea of drinking moon-charged water. So simple, yet so potent.
Exactly. It's all about connecting with those natural rhythms and harnessing their power for our well-being.
This whole idea of our bodies being these sacred temples resonating with these celestial energies, it's pretty mind-blowing. It really makes you think about your place in the universe, doesn't it?
It does. And you know, what's really interesting is that this chapter ends with a channeled message from Shimana herself. And the message is all about remembering that our bodies are intrinsically aligned with these celestial rhythms, and that true healing comes from finding resonance with them, not resisting them.
That makes so much sense. It's not about fighting against those energies, but working with them.
Exactly. It's about remembering our wholeness, our connection to the cosmos.
Love it. Okay, so Chapter 10 lays out this amazing foundation of Taoist cosmology and its connection to our physical and energetic bodies. Now, Chapter 11 takes us even deeper into this realm, exploring how the Shimana Quantum Code integrates these ideas within what's called the Shimana Etheric Chamber.
Yeah, so we've got this framework connecting the planets to the elements to our organs and emotions. But how does the Shimana approach actually work with those energies? That's where the etheric chamber comes in.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more. What exactly is this etheric chamber? Is it a physical place?
Not exactly. It's described as a high vibrational sacred space, but it's energetic. It's where a person's energy body can be transported during a healing session.
Okay, that's fascinating. So their physical body stays put, but their energy body goes on a journey to this special chamber.
Precisely. And it's all done within the context of this sacred geometry of infinite love, which is a really important concept in the Shimana Quantum Code.
Okay, and how does this healing process actually unfold within the chamber? What happens energetically?
Okay, so it's a pretty multi-layered process. It starts with the activation of the Merkaba, which is like this powerful energy vehicle that surrounds the person's energy body. Think of it as a field of light that helps to transport and protect their energy.
Okay, I'm visualizing that. And then what?
Then this incredible 11th dimensional healing light, which is said to originate from the Shimana consciousness, enters through the crown and third eye chakras. It's like a massive influx of high vibrational energy that starts to recalibrate everything.
Wow, that sounds intense.
It is, but it's also incredibly healing and transformative. And then a beautiful lotus flower descends from the third eye and merges with the heart chakra. It's all about connecting those two centers, bringing the heart and mind into harmony.
That's beautiful. And what about those angels and ascended masters that are mentioned in the book? Do they play a role in this process?
They do. After the lotus flower merges with the heart, 12 rays of light emanate from the heart, and those represent the presence and support of guardian angels. And then 16 ascended masters appear as golden crystalline spheres, offering their wisdom and healing energy to the process.
Wow, so there's a whole team of divine beings assisting in this healing journey.
Exactly. And it's at this point that the planetary alignments come into play. The 5 planets align themselves within the chamber, and the specific planet that becomes most active is determined by the person's needs, like which organs are imbalanced, what emotions are they struggling with.
Oh, I see. So it's a very personalized approach, tailored to the individual's specific situation.
Exactly. So for instance, if someone is dealing with a lot of emotional trauma affecting their heart, the energy of Mars will be really prominent. If it's anger and frustration, it might be Jupiter's energy that takes the lead. Venus comes in for grief and letting go, Saturn for worry and digestive issues, and Mercury for fear and exhaustion.
So it's like each planet has its own specific healing specialty.
Exactly. And while all of this is happening, the moon's gentle yin energy is also flowing into the person's energy field, supporting emotional healing, womb health, and spiritual rejuvenation.
It's amazing how all these energies are working together in this chamber.
It is. And to make things even more fascinating, the book talks about something called holographic energy scanning. As all these energies are interacting, a holographic representation of the person's energy field appears.
Wait, so they can actually see the person's energy field like a hologram?
That's what the book describes, yes. And this allows the healers to see any imbalances, past traumas, emotional blockages, even ancestral patterns that might be contributing to the person's current state.
That's incredible. So they're getting this incredibly detailed view of the person's energetic makeup.
Exactly. And then they receive guidance from the Ascended Masters on how to best support the person's healing. Specific healing codes might be downloaded into their energy field, and if there's a blockage in a particular organ or chakra, they activate a corresponding sacred geometry of healing using crystals, colors, and sound.
It sounds like such a personalized and intuitive approach, guided by these higher beings.
It is. And then as the session comes to a close, the guardian angels and ascended masters work to synchronize all the healing energies and form a protective shield around the person. And just before they leave the chamber, they receive a personal frequency key so they can reconnect with this healing energy whenever they need it.
That's beautiful. And it sounds like the end of the session is just as important as the beginning.
It is. And again, there's a message from Shimana at the end of this chapter. And it's all about remembering that this healing power, these planetary energies, they're not separate from us. They're within us. We are the cosmos. The healing chamber is ultimately within our own hearts.
That's so powerful. And it leads us perfectly into chapter 12, which is all about embodying Shimana and bringing these concepts into our daily lives.
Exactly. And one of the key practices introduced in this chapter is the Shimana chakra activation and healing meditation. It's a guided meditation that helps to awaken and balance each of the chakras, bringing them into harmony with these cosmic energies.
Okay, walk me through this meditation. What are the key steps involved?
So you start by creating a sacred space, setting an intention, and chanting Shimana Om 3 times. While you're chanting, you visualize this pure white light descending around you, creating a protective and nurturing field. And then you move through each chakra one by one, visualizing the white light flowing into and activating that energy center.
Okay, and what about that sacred geometry of infinite love that you mentioned earlier? Does that come into play here?
It does. A key element of this meditation is visualizing the infinity symbol, which is a powerful symbol of balance and harmony within each chakra. It's about harmonizing the masculine and feminine energies, the yin and yang aspects within each energy center.
Oh, that makes sense. So it's not just about activating the chakras, but also about balancing those energies within them.
Exactly. So at the crown chakra, the infinity symbol helps to align us with divine consciousness. At the third eye, it enhances intuition and clarifies our inner vision. At the throat chakra, it promotes clear and authentic communication. At the upper heart chakra, it activates the thymus gland and connects us to higher dimensions of love and healing.
I'm loving this. What about the heart chakra?
The heart chakra is where the sacred geometry of infinite love fully merges with our energy field. It's about releasing emotional blockages, opening to unconditional love, and expanding our capacity for compassion.
Beautiful. And what about the lower chakras?
At the solar plexus, the infinity symbol helps to empower us and strengthen our self-confidence. At the sacral chakra, it enhances creativity and balances our sexual energy. And at the root chakra, it grounds us, helps us to feel secure, and releases any fears related to survival and abundance.
Wow, it's amazing how each chakra has its own unique function and how the infinity symbol works to harmonize those energies. But the meditation doesn't end there, does it?
No, it also includes an activation of the hand and foot chakras, which are often overlooked. The white light flows into these chakras, and the infinity symbol is visualized within them, enhancing our ability to both give and receive healing energy and to connect deeply with the earth.
That's fascinating. I never really thought about those chakras before.
They're super important. And then comes the grand finale, the connection to the Shimana energy itself. You visualize this rainbow light, representing the full spectrum of healing energy, rising up from the earth through your body, reprogramming your cells and activating your DNA's full potential.
Wow, it's like a full-body energetic upgrade.
Exactly. And then this energy merges with source energy at the heart, expanding outward to create this vast chamber of healing. The Merkaba is activated, the lotus flower in the heart blooms, and your guardian angels and the ascended masters appear, fully connecting you to the Shimana consciousness.
That sounds absolutely incredible, a truly transformative experience.
It is. And this chapter also goes into detail about how to actually facilitate a Shimana healing session for someone else. It's a pretty involved process that requires both training and intention.
I can imagine. So what are some of the key things involved in conducting a session like this?
Well, the first step is preparation. The healer needs to ground themselves, connect with the Shimana energy, visualize the sacred geometry, and set a clear intention for the session. Then they guide the person into a relaxed state and begin the process of scanning their energy field, looking for imbalances and blockages.
And is that where the holographic energy scanning comes in?
Exactly. They can see the person's energy field like a hologram and receive intuitive guidance from the ascended masters on how to best support their healing.
And what about specific techniques? Do they use crystals or sound or anything like that?
Yes, they might use a variety of tools depending on the person's needs. Crystals, colors, sound frequencies, and specific healing codes can all be used to help shift and balance the person's energy.
It sounds like a very personalized and intuitive process.
It is. And then, once the healing work is complete, it's important to ground the person back into their physical body and to share any guidance that was received from the ascended masters.
It's incredible how much depth and detail there is to this whole system.
It is. And it all comes back to that core idea that we're not separate from the cosmos. We're a part of it. And by understanding these connections, by working with these energies, we can tap into a profound level of healing and transformation.
It's a beautiful reminder that we have so much more power within us than we realize.
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. What do you think?
I agree. So to our listeners out there, we encourage you to think about which planetary energy you feel most connected to right now, or perhaps one that you're feeling challenged by. How might exploring those connections deepen your understanding of yourself and your own healing journey?
It's a beautiful journey to embark on.
It is. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, everyone. Until next time.